Hi. Thank you for taking over. My signal just dodged out. I'm Sam Slavic. We're on HAPS TV. We're talking to our friends in Canada today, Jessica Quijano and Daybi. Daybi is a recording artist, an activist, and producer. I've known him for, well, let me just give a little bit of background. I met Daybi in New York, in Manhattan, on New Year's Eve at a record party for RCA Records. ODB was like thought he found his new best friend and he was really into Dayby. And then at some point I met him, and then I remember the last thing I remember is the president of RCA Records kissing Dayby on the cheek. Let's be clear, but that happened. And so that's just a little background. Dayby finds his way into a lot of places. He's at films in Sundance. He's done a lot of stuff. He has a new TV show. He can tell you about that. Jessica is a project coordinator at Native Women's Shelter in Montreal. Dayby is aligned with, I think it's called Native Harm Reduction in Montreal as well. Well, let me just bring him in and we can say hi. Hi, you two. Thank you for taking the time.
Hey, everyone.
I've been following you online. I know you've both been in the streets and have lots of other things going on. And Jessica, if you just want to start, just tell us who you are and what's going on in Montreal.
Well, first of all, I'm from Montreal. I'm from Montreal, Canada, and I've been a community activist for like almost 20 years now. And I work at the Native Women's Shelter, and I work on a project for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, trans and two-spirit. So if all of you probably know, all in the U.S., we have a lot of Indigenous women going missing and being murdered. In my project, what I do is I accompany families and loved ones when an Indigenous woman and girl goes missing, and having the police to locate her. Because like there's been just so non-response from police and government in general. And so like the work that I've done, I work a lot with the homeless community here. I work with a lot of women in poverty. And we have really, really been very, very inspired by everything that's been going on in the U.S. for defund the police. I've been involved with a lot of abolitionist groups for a really long time. So we have a lot of momentum, and, I as well have been following you, Sam, and really, really inspired by what's going on worldwide in the movement to defund the police right now.
Yeah, so, Jessica, can you tell us, I know about defund the police here in Los Angeles and in the States, and I know it has one meaning, and really it has nothing to do with defunding as opposed to redistributing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really reinvesting into our communities. It's finding an alternative to police being the front line, as you know, here as well. We just had our 11th vigil for justice of police killings. We have, the same issues here in Canada of Indigenous and Black people being killed at the hands of police, often people who are suffering from mental health crisis. So it's really finding an alternative to police. And it's, a lot of the time I intervene a lot as a frontline worker. I've been intervening in mental health for 17 years, and I've never harmed anyone. And so it's also reinvesting in housing, in education, really putting the services out there so that we can prevent a lot of violence that is happening. Because right now, police are just doing a really, really, really bad job at responding to a lot of the issues, social problems that we have here.
So I see that you've been in the street.
Yeah.
Tell me about the protests, if you will, and what's going on there and how it's related to what you're talking about.
Well, we had our protests on Saturday to commemorate the people who have died at the hands of police, and as well to ask the city of Montreal to defund the SPVM, that's our local police force here, and reallocate funds to community resources. So, for example, we are asking that we have about 3,000 homeless people here in Montreal. It would be to provide housing, immediate housing. We want to immediately disarm the police. We have several demands: is to disarm and demilitarize. We want to decolonize, because a lot of here in Montreal we have a huge Indigenous homeless population. We also will go further. We want to decriminalize. So it's decriminalize sex work, decriminalize drugs. Really what we're seeing is police are often just there kind of just harassing people in public spaces. So we're really, really putting pressure on our government and on our city of Montreal to address these problems, and to like get to the root issue of a lot of problems. And what's really optimistic about it, the mayor has been listening, and they did put out a survey out to Montrealers where thousands of Montrealers responded. So, and it was like something like 45% of Montrealers agreed that funds should be reallocated to other community services. Montreal spends $665 million a year on police services, which is an enormous amount. For the population, we're about 3 million. So we have one of the most most police officers per capita, and one of the most militarized police forces.
Jessica, how does the COVID response in your community and Native communities in Canada, how has that impacted the situation, or maybe exacerbated it? Mm-hmm. Or does it? How are you working in those spaces?
It's been really, really, really difficult. Myself, there's been in the community, there was 6 women that have died of overdoses, hit and runs, possible suicide. So because there's just a lot less services. And so I think that a lot of people think that here in Canada, we have a better social service safety net, but we actually have lost a lot of those services. We've also seen an increase in homelessness. In general, people who have never been homeless are now homeless. Unlike, we've never had tents popping up in Montreal, and we've been seeing tents popping up all over the city. Yeah. So this is something that's very new to Montreal, because it is a city that often has a lot of services for the homeless. And now I'm actually quite afraid for the winter, because we can't, it's not like other climates, other cities, like people cannot camp out outside. And we're actually quite afraid that we're going to lose a lot of people.
People are going to freeze to death in Montreal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wonder, so do you think that, what the question was like, is this part, and I'm getting that this is part of the impact of the pandemic, but I'm wondering if, in fact, the people that are new on the street are what they call economically homeless. Like, it's just about money. It's not about mental health.
It's people who've lost their jobs, who have never been homeless. And actually, what's really interesting is that they're introduced to the shelter system, and they're like, here, go to a shelter, and they can't even imagine that that's what the system we have. So it's really like a prison system where you're told when to take a shower, when to go to bed, when to eat. So that's why a lot of people have opted to just camp out. And they can't even find we have a housing crisis where a lot of we're just seeing a lot of gentrification, that we're kind of later than the rest of Toronto and Vancouver, where we're really seeing the rise of gentrification in a lot of neighborhoods, and no affordable housing, or the affordable housing that's available is really, really just not livable. It's just really disgusting with cockroaches, and just so people are opting to live in their cars or in tents.
Yeah, there's so many homeless. There's got to be 250,000 people sleeping outside in Los Angeles right now. Daybi.
Yes.
Can I ask you? Tell me about native harm reduction in Montreal, what it is and what you do. That's the first part. And the second part of the question is, I know you have a high profile. A lot of people follow you. Is there an issue for you of being identified with this cause, and how are you working with that?
I think, what's very interesting that what I'm going through is that, and I tell everyone this, harm reduction in its infancy within the Indigenous communities across Canada, not just in Montreal. Montreal has the unique position of having a project like this just starting. I went and visited my cousin in Vancouver, Samantha, who there's a program. How long was it there? 20 years or something like that? 20 years it's been in motion now. So what worked there and what works there is kind of going to be able to transfer to what's going on here. And what's going on here is basically that, traditional versus there's political themes that go through the communities in terms of the city Indigenous, as well as the reserve natives and the off-reserve natives from different communities. It's very complicated sort of, I tell everyone it's like a big ball of string that needs to be untangled. and where do you start untangling? Which string do you work at first, and that sort of thing. And I myself, as a user, and my experience with harm reduction is also a thread in this story. So I think it's great that I have the platform that I do to be able to share my experiences and also open up the doors on a national level to communicate what harm reduction is, as well as what it means to our people, because there's traditional ways and scientific ways now introduced more with the younger generation who with students and that sort of thing. So it's a very multi-layered, multi-tiered sort of issue that brings forth a lot of issues, including homelessness, missing and murdered women. There's a lot of overlay between the work that Jessica and I do. And basically, I think I'm in a unique position to sort of help make these connections and utilize the framework that my fathers and uncles and all my relations in Canada have worked towards to sort of address all of these things and try and find a balance between all of it without more harm being done or less harm, which is the whole purpose of harm reduction. It's a very complicated issue in its reality in Montreal, Quebec, but so far the response has been it's in its infancy. So it's an exciting time. It's a scary time, but we're moving forward, and I'm just fortunate enough to be the person to help share, and hopefully emphasize on the positivity that comes with that, and work with the bodies that be it the Quebecois, Mohawk, the Inuit, Northern Cree, and all these communities around here, so that we can all collectively gather and find a solution that works for everyone. So that's that in a nutshell is my interpretation and where it's at right now. So I work with. I would like to say what's up to my colleagues at LAPSUD, AQPSUD. They're a harm reduction organization that has taken us on. Great organization, good people, and they're working towards basically they've sort of established a network here within the French and English communities for Narcan kids, naloxone kids, and just getting information out there so that people can know their limit, stay within it, as they say. Yeah.
I think we lost Sam for a bit, but I see there's some questions, which is interesting. So actually, no, Canada, we do not have a basic universal healthcare system. No, we have universal healthcare. We don't have a basic income. That's actually something we've been fighting for. We do have more of a safety net than I would say in the USA. But hey, Sam, you're back. We do have more of a safety net here in Canada, but we've been losing that for a really long time. It's becoming more and more a two-tier system, more privatized since the Stephen Harper days when we had Sumar as our prime minister. They've been cutting away at healthcare and education, and we're really seeing the impacts. I don't know if you know, but Quebec, Montreal is harder hit than was New York. We've had more COVID. We've had 7,000 COVID deaths here in Montreal, so we've been hit really, really hard by COVID.
Happening, and if anybody didn't notice, I just my signal froze. I just got
back. I saw that. Yeah,
and you two just carried on. That was really
what
at this moment, at this point in time. What is your main focus, if there is one, and what's your biggest challenge? What are you up against, like right now? What's happening? And after that, I want to get like links from everybody. And what do you want to draw attention to? What do you want people to focus on, and where can they find that and you?
Well, for us, like we want to draw attention that defunding the police is to really address so many of the problems we've been talking about for so many years, and now it's becoming dire situation. Like when we talk about decriminalizing drugs, we've actually lost more people to drug overdoses, notably in First Nations communities, than we have to COVID. So we need to decriminalize all drugs because we have a toxic drug supply, like in the USA as well. We need to defund the police because right now it's just where everything has been exacerbated by the pandemic. We've had all these issues for a really long time, but now people are really starting to see how capitalism does not serve like the majority of us, and how we need to move away from this this way of criminalizing people who are in distress and being caring for others. So that's really, it's just re-envisioning a new society, a new world that I think people have a difficulty doing because we've been so conditioned to the status quo of punishing people who poverty. So that's what we're doing, and it's really like it is a worldwide movement. So, and I think it's like what we're saying is that, you know, we're with you in the U.S. and don't think Canada is that much better. Like, really, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about here.
There is.
It's really, really, really not what it is. We really, really have been struggling a lot, and we've seen the government respond very quickly to certain things, and it kind of makes me angry that they could have responded to other things. Other issues like homelessness and poverty. Yeah. We also have, and one more thing, we also have Indigenous communities here don't even have clean drinking water. We have like that's the thing here in Canada. It's been for 25 years. One community specifically has been under a boil water advisory, and just last week they had to evacuate because they have a toxic water supply.
Yeah, in that sense, what you're talking about right now, and in the States, as you well know, I think in New Mexico and possibly Arizona, there's natives who don't have running water. And the reason they don't have running water is because they never have. And so what other conversation do we need to have first? I want to start there. If you look at this country, it's very simple. Let's just go back to the very beginning and start the healing. Yeah. Reparations, you know, stop the indigenous genocide, reparations. It's a pretty simple plan. Defunding the police is an integral part of it. And it gets really tricky because the police want the police defunded, you know? If you depersonalize it, they're an appendage of the government, whatever. They're a bunch of people who are confused and destructive from my perspective, but they don't want to be dealing with all this stuff they deal with. Like, they would much rather have, you know, social workers.
Wouldn't they rather stay at home and, you know, barbecue in the nice little back area in the suburbs and trade their cottages and, like, you know, keep the land that they have for their properties and stuff? Like, for myself, I'm not here to disrupt people's lives or be like, listen, you know, we condemn you for walking your path in life that was given to you. What I'm saying is that basically, no, I don't live in a teepee, as you can tell. I don't live in igloos. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of the younger generations and the kids are what's more important to me at the moment, you know, our personal livelihoods. And I tell everyone at the end of the day, you know, we have all made our mistakes in life. And we have all been a part of things that, you know, facilitated the existence of where we're at. And I think that if we just take the time in our daily lives to try and make amends or fix things that we can and start looking forward and realizing that we're not condemned to this reality of, you know, we're still just a person in the room. We're still just where we are and where we are in life. This is basically caring enough to be like, okay, like if you see someone hurting, help them. If you see someone who's hungry, let's help them. You know, we don't have to create these invisible borders and barricades to achieve these things and the bureaucracies to, you know what I mean? There's just an easier way of doing things. It's very simple. It's like, you know, this TV show, I'm not allowed to talk too much about it.
Tell us a little about it, though, because I know you got a big show and I know it's about to drop.
Okay, so basically I have a show coming out in February that I was part of. I can't really speak too much about it, but I was able to get in touch with who I am and where I come from. And really, at the end of the day, what matters in this life is our families, the people we love, eating, sleeping, and just, you know, and taking things not for granted, taking care of the planet and being in sync, more in sync with our basic needs as opposed to what some other people are doing. So in that sense, you can look at us and say like, yo, like you as an activist or people pointing things out, you know, hopefully there'll be a day where we don't have to, you know, see such heinous or ridiculous situations that we have to monitor each other. You know, we are all born with our personal knowledge of right and wrong. And if we just use that a little more in our daily lives, doing more right than wrong, I think it'll be a lot more easier for everyone to turn around and just move forward and just like, you know, get along harmoniously and start hurting each other and just making more space and things good for everyone. You know, I myself, I'm just, you know, I'm very grateful and thankful to have made it where I am in life. And I just want to see people uplift and carry on. And there's simple solutions to these complicated problems. If we just stop focusing on the complicated issues and just simplify it to its most basic form, I think it's going to be the easiest way to solve things.
I hear you, and I see what's happening. My perspective is that in this country, the culture of dominance, toxic masculinity is like exploding in a big fat orange wig in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I know.
The shift has been on for a long time. Women are taking over. I don't know that that's going to be really fun a lot of times. It seems like the mess is going to get cleaned up, actually, and so I'm on. That's the team I'm on. I want to help there, and I'm like you, Jessica. And then before we, just parting thoughts from both of you, and then before we leave, let's remember to let everybody know a link a couple links where they can find you and connect to what you're talking about. But please go ahead.
I think we're here in Canada. We're watching very closely what's going on in the U.S. For me,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about everything.
I'm really hopeful, actually. I think it's time. I mean, it's time for a revolution. Like, it's really time. It's like, and it's not by replacing like women in the same kind of system. This like it's really like a toxic system. And here in Canada, we've been fortunate. We've had women actually leading the pandemic, right? Like, Justin Trudeau's Chrystia Freeland. Not that I'm a big fan of Justin Trudeau. He's the main person. She's the one. You can tell she's the one calling all the shots. And we've had like women really dominating, and it's really been different. Like we've seen in other countries like New Zealand, the response to the pandemic. So I really feel for all of you in the U.S. We're watching closely, and this is also like, let's not think about this is a worldwide kind of international movement. So we're together, right? There's no border. For me, there's no border.
Yeah, and so for me, on that note, I think that what I would like to say too is that I totally agree. Everyone be safe out there. Just get lost to what you love. Do your art, do your music. As much as all this stuff adds pressure to my daily life, and I really overthink things, and that's how I am, and that's how I've always been. I just need to realize that I'm a good dude. I'm gonna do my music, my art, get back to that. And the seeds are planted, and everyone cannot deny that what's going on is going on. So we all just take our part, pull up our skirts, or pull up our socks, pull up our socks, and keep it moving, and just be good to each other. I mean, this will all come to pass, just like everything else. And the more that people care about who they are. And no one wants to like check out early. No one does. So we don't have to. The world's here for everyone to. There's enough space. There's enough resources, and we could all just move forward in a better way. That's really what I believe. And in terms of, I know that the Ishkwe Project has a website, which is ishkwe.org.
Could you spell it, please?
ISKWEU.org. There's the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know the URL.
Yeah, it's www.NWSM, NativeWomenShelterMontreal.com. And, we really like, especially for the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, like this is something we want that I think the U.S. is also behind in that. We want to like also build solidarity across like the border in addressing this crisis.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That here in the States, because of the job that you've done promoting this, that we've all been aware of it for a long time.
Yeah.
And as soon as we started seeing it, everybody that I know started posting it and was just not shocked, just saddened, and really wanting to like know who you people were up there, and wanting to know where we could find you, and wanting to know what you're doing. And so I've been blasting that for a long time. And thank you so much for putting that out there.
Thanks, Sam. It's always good to catch up.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to working on this platform as well with you and your guys over there. There's a lot of possibilities, a lot of positive things, a lot of good we could do. With all of our resources and networks and the people out there who are watching, just stay aware, do what you can every day, like I said, and we're going to do our part. And we'll see you on the other side of this COVID.
Oh yeah, we want to go to LA.
Yeah.
From LA. Daybi, what's your name on HAPS TV? Daybi just said he's a broadcaster now on HAPS TV, HAPS.tv.
It's Daybi. This is Daybi.
Daybi. You can find him on
my Instagram is King Daybi. no spaces. King Daybi, Daybi.
On Instagram?
Yeah, King Daybi, and then it's just Daybi on apps.
Right, and he's all over Facebook. You're pretty easy to find online. And
Yeah.
Jessica, so are you. You too, thank you both so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll loop back around and catch up with you soon. And please let us know what's going on.
Definitely,
Okay.
always.
Always. Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Well, there you go. That was amazing. That was. Oh, you're still on, and I can still hear you. Well, everybody can hear you. Hey, by swearing, come on, that's Pandora's box. I'm trying. I'm working hard on not swearing anymore. So they're there. I'll put their links in the comments, and we'll catch up with them again.